Okay, everyone. This is the link to our YouTube stream. Later on, I'll share also a Facebook stream. In the meantime, I'm ready to start our session as we planned. I start recording. So, everyone, hello. I'm super happy to have today's speakers and today's panel of great speakers from Lithuania. And we are continuing our research about global startup ecosystems. I think we are now in a different world, and every country provides different set of tools and opportunities for startups to actually create value in the world. And we met with Startup Lithuania and Roberta recently to actually learn more about startup ecosystem in Lithuania. And these guys, their team and the organization they are running in Lithuania actually have enough expertise to share about the entire ecosystem of Lithuania. And we are super excited about that because the world is so big with so many opportunities, and Lithuania might provide you some values you might not even heard of. So let's get into it and actually allow our speakers to give us all the insights and secrets about this interesting market. I will have a few words about our community for those who just joined us, and then I'll pass the word to speakers. They will be able to introduce themselves in greater detail. But what I can say from my end, these are experts in their fields, and they know a lot about startups. They know about a lot about legislation in Lithuania, and of course, venture capital in that country. It's a very interesting, unique conversation, and it is actually coming directly from our media plan that we actually try to discover every country and their startup ecosystems. So let me just share with you a few slides. I'm going to share the screen just a second. All right, so those who just joined our community first, this is our website and this is our email. You can ask any questions to us, how to join or how we can help your business. And this QR code can help you register to our further events. But why we created this community? This is a free community for entrepreneurs because we truly believe that there are no borders in the world and there is no proper infrastructure that can help businesses scale globally. And what we are committed, we want you to have access to basic knowledge how to start international companies, international network, and the opportunity to raise capital. And it's all provided free on our community, just for the sake of building entrepreneurship globally. Well, what we expect from you is that you guys help out each other as we do in Silicon Valley. There is a culture in Silicon Valley that it is normal to help entrepreneur is helping the other entrepreneur without asking anything in return. And this is a unique value, very unique to Silicon Valley, not other territories of the world usually. And this is what we ask you to do on our community, and it works really well. We have a team of about 40 people in 30 countries, and these are committed leaders to help your business to actually scale in those countries and many more things. But our community is going beyond that. We actually around the world, and we have entrepreneurs. I think almost in every country. I didn't check every country, but in many. And every entrepreneur is committed to help others. So if you want to get to whatever country like Singapore, Australia, United States, Lithuania, we have entrepreneurs probably in there and they can help you. But we're all busy people, and we have also created Telegram bots, which automatically connects you with our members of the community globally. And so you can expand your network at no cost. So you will be able to automatically network and decide if you want to speak with those people or not. You can also use our fun stickers if you would like to enjoy it even further. As for the knowledge, like today's excellent speakers we invited, we had amazing speakers before, like Bob Dorf, Ilya Striboyev, Donna Griffith, Ben Kaplan, Steve Hoppen. Those people are known not only in the United States, but globally. And they come here to give back, to help you learn how to build international successful companies. It's not about, only inspiration. We are talking here about practical stuff, and my goal for every webinar that you guys move your business to the next step. Even tiny bit is already a success, but I want you to have this result. That's it on my end. This is our partners, international partners from around the world, on every continent almost, and they provide ecosystem for you to actually go even further. That's it from my end, and I am happy to pass the word to Roberta. Roberta, please give us about a few words about yourself, about the team, about the organization, and what we will be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here to participate in this event and to talk to the whole Go Global community. My name is Roberta. I'm the head of Startup Lithuania, National Startup Ecosystem Facilitator in Lithuania, which aims to have more startups and to help them grow. Together with me today, I have here 3 investors from Lithuania, and let me introduce them. We have here Andra from Acceleration Fund Startup Wise Guys. Hello, Andra.
Hello, Roberta. Very happy to be here. Hey, everyone.
We also have Viktorija from CoInvestment Fund.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And the one and only man between us, Tomas, investor from Iron Wolf Capital. Hi, Tomas.
The only man from Lithuania. Daniel is also the man. Yeah,
great.
So yes.
Okay,
Hi,
great. So
everyone.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
your screen was switched off. I couldn't see it.
All right.
Okay, so as you can see, we are here almost friends, each from Lithuanian side. We are in very good mood. It's already quite evening in Lithuania, and we are here ready to present you our lively, booming startup ecosystem, and how maybe Lithuania could be a great entry point to Europe for your startups. So I will try to share my screens. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. So I'll make a short presentation about Lithuanian startup ecosystem, and then I will give a word to each of the investors to present their fund, what kind of startups they are looking for, and how they could give some benefits even for Go Global community. So we are very happy that Lithuania is quite small country, just 2.8 million population. Of course, it's too small as a market for any startup, but it could be a really great point for non-European startups to enter European market and to scale in the whole Europe. Why we say so? We have really great business environment and a lot of talented people. So Lithuania is ranked number 11 at global at index of ease of doing business, and also ranks number 4th at global fintech index. I think everyone hears about the things that Lithuania does in fintech sector and how many fintech startups we attract due to easy regulation and the help of Lithuanian bank. We are in among top EU countries in ease of paying taxes, also second in the world for procedures to start business. As I said, we have really great talent potential, and people, especially young generation, speak fluently English, and 50% of population, of young population, speak at least 2 foreign languages. So it's really multilingual country, and it's easier to integrate for foreign talents here. If to talk about our startup ecosystem, so we are very happy that in recent years Before the COVID, we really reached some kind of great pace. We have developed ecosystem that we count more than 1,000 startups in a country with 2.6 million population. We have our first unicorn startup called Vinted. We counted, our startups attracted really great sums of investments. Before the COVID, the growth of investments reached plus 135%. Of course, last year it was a little bit, the numbers were a little bit lower, but still were pretty good. And all the investors that we have here were pretty active in investing. And now we count about 10,400 people that work in Lithuanian talents and startups. And we have more than 60 startups that relocated to Lithuania since 2017 through our startup visa program. What also is interesting for us and what makes us happy that Lithuanian startups showed really great resilience last year during these difficult times, and the number of people in Lithuanian startups last year grew by 26%, so they were actively hiring. The total revenues of the total sector, startup segment, revenues grew about 26%. Of course, some of the startups faced quite a lot of difficulties, but generally for the whole ecosystem, they managed to survive, to find new ways of doing things and even growing and entering new markets and hiring new talents. If to talk a little bit more about the infrastructure, I mentioned we have really developed infrastructure, a lot of different places, different help possible for startups from the early stage until the growth stage, different science and technology parks, CERN incubators, accelerators, incubators, co-working spaces, and sandboxes. And as well as a bunch of investors that are actively investing at the moment. We also have Lithuanian Business Angel Network, which is working actively. And we have 3 representatives here today. What you see that from each line, one from acceleration, from early investments, Viktorija, and Tomas from venture capital. I also want to use this opportunity and to invite you all to our main startups event, Startup Fair. This year it will happen on the 3rd, 4th of June. And we are planning to have semi-live event. Of course, we don't know if there will be possibilities for you to travel, but we really invite you to join us online. We will have special platform for streamlined integration. And that's it. I think Lithuania is really a point where you can scale fast and live slow. What we are all happy about, that small country, but we have a seaside, we have a lot of wake parks, and Vilnius, our capital city itself, is quite small, very green. We don't have big traffic, so it's really life quality, and it's much more cheaper than to live, let's say, in Berlin and develop your startup in Berlin. So I think you should really consider Lithuania if you think about scaling to Europe. And that's it, my short presentation. Now I would like to give a word to our guest, and let's start with Andra. Could you please introduce yourself and your acceleration fund, and what startups are you looking for, and are you interested in foreign startups, and how could you help them?
Sure. So thanks, Roberta, for a lovely overview and introduction to the Lithuanian startup ecosystem. I really loved the last picture and cannot wait for summer to kick in when everyone can move to the seaside, to all the co-working spaces over there, and we can meet maybe for a beer or so. So me, myself, I'm working at Startup Wise Guys, and as Roberta has already explained, we are an accelerator fund. So Startup Wise Guys was initially founded in Estonia in 2012 after the Skype exit. So, there were a lot of people in the ecosystem who wanted to give back, both by knowledge and by the capital that they have accumulated. And so Startup Wise Guys was founded with the mission to help founders become real entrepreneurs and build great international tech companies. But myself, personally, of course, I'm working in Lithuania, and this is because Startup Wise Guys was able to expand in all 3 Baltic states and grow almost like a startup ourselves. So here in Lithuania, we have the same mission. Basically, we are accelerating startups and providing early stage investments. So, when the team has an MVP, the first working version of the product, and maybe some initial traction, this is kind of where we step in and we say, okay, guys, how can we support you? And how can we help you to grow even faster? So typically our investment ticket is about 50,000 euros. And next to that, of course, we also support with the accelerator program, which is focused around the 3 main pillars. One of them is company building, meaning, okay, what do I need to know to really prepare for scaling? How do I hire people? How do I set the right values from day one, and similar. The second pillar is sales, and we start from the very basics, understanding your customer persona, your value proposition, and then kind of developing the whole sales strategy, working together with the startups hands-on to really see the revenues growing. And the last thing is fundraising. So kind of understanding the fundraising landscape, which investors to approach, how to define the investment size that you actually need, how to prepare all the materials and similar things. So basically, we are kind of your partner that supports you, that helps you along the way, and that wants to see you succeed. Right now, Startup Wise Guys has invested in more than 200 startups from more than 40 different countries. So we are super international, and we are always looking for good founders wherever they are who want to work together with us. And we see ourselves as a good gateway for Europe, for entering to Europe, basically. So if there are foreign startups who want to enter the European market, we can be a good partner that can help startups to do that. So yeah, very briefly, I think these are the most important things that you need to know about Startup Wise Guys. But of course, if you would love to learn more, feel free to ask questions or also visit our website. I think you will find a lot of information over there.
And it's a good point. It's a good point about questions because, guys, it's already your opportunity to type your questions in Q&A section. And after we finish this talk, we will be able to ask your questions. So if you're live on YouTube and Facebook, also type your questions. And those who are here on Zoom, raise your hand and we'll let you speak after the main part of the talk. Roberta?
Thank you. Thanks, Andra, for your introduction and explanation. Thanks, Daniel. And let's move to Viktorija. Could you please tell us more about co-investment fund? What value does it give for startups, and what startups are you looking for?
Thank you, Roberta, for introduction, and Daniel for the invitation. And I'm representing CoInvest Capital Fund, which invests in startups and companies undergoing business development and growth, mostly pre-seed and seed stages. We invest only in cooperation with the groups of business angels or private venture capital funds. At the moment, our fund size is 25 million euros. We are interested in startups in all areas. We are not focusing in one sector. So we are looking both into technology or traditional business. It doesn't matter. We can invest up to 800,000 euros, but our average investment is around 300 euros at the moment. Our leverage in is up to 70% in the investment round. So additional 30% should come from business angels. That means that we cannot invest only by ourselves. So we can invest with local and foreign angels or funds. And there should be at least 3 business angels or 1 fund in 1 deal if we want to invest. We invest in the shares mostly. Sometimes it can be convertibles also. Our funds benefits are really attractive not only for the companies who want to attract higher funding, but also for the investors who invest alongside us. Because our fund capped its return, and it can be up to 6% annually during the investment period. So access return is a premium to private investors who have co-invested with the fund. So the fund is not taking any board seats in the portfolio company, but provides all of the fund's knowledge and helps companies to grow. Our target companies should be located in Lithuania. At the moment, we have made 18 investments with more than 70 business angels. If company wants to receive the investment from the fund, first of all, they connect with us by calling, writing, or sending email. And then during short conversation, and it's a really good time now because we can have online meetings. So for the beginning, we just chat for a 30-minute and then decide can we go further or not. So, and the process begins. Also, we can help companies to find business angels and additional investors. So all companies are welcome for with their ideas. And also, if you have questions, just raise your hand and we can chat a little bit more.
Thank you, Victoria. And Thomas,
for the beginning.
Could you please tell us about Iron Wolf Capital? What are you doing? How are you investing? What kind of startups are you looking for? And
yeah, we started to remembering history of Vilnius, 700 years ago about Iron Wolf wooing and making that city known in the whole world as an open city where a lot of businessmen were arriving. And back then Lithuania was quite a big country in Europe. So I think that now we don't need to physically be a big country, but I think our hearts are quite big and we are welcoming everyone to come and be open, share good emotions and know-how. So everyone is very much welcome. And Iron Wolf Capital, we have 4 partners. We have 21 mil fund. We plan to invest in 20 companies with this fund. So far we did into 10. And what we look at the companies who already had maybe friendship with the Startup Wise guys or CoInvest Capital. Usually they did before other angels in other countries. So they have a good team, they have a great vision, they have a product and traction. And usually we expect that its traction comes not only from their local country, but they manage to install some sales and marketing process in some other bigger markets. And at that probably stage, we enter and talk with the founders how to expand in particular markets. So our role usually to invest, I would say, 500,000 as the first investment. Usually at that stage, we call it, I don't know, it's early seed. We love to lead. We usually help to invite another co-investors together to invest alongside with us and to help company to go to Series A international level. And then we do follow-up investments, as we can do up to 2 million per company. So this is we focus only on technology-driven companies. So we really want to see something bold and what unique you created. We are not investing in some local or not technology companies, but with great business model. I don't know, coffee, retail shops, or other things. It's not for us. So yeah, and we have, I think, in the partners quite a good mix, because 2 partners were doing startups. 3 partners lived for quite many years and decade in London. Some of us has still some angel investments or some startups. So we quite well understand the path, emotions, problems which can go from inside out. And another 2 partners work for quite many years in the M&A field, so we also understand what needs to be done to make an exit, because this is another, nobody's thinking, but eventually then we enter, we have a friendship and dance tango with you, maybe not for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, but for 5-7 years. But eventually the song will end and we'll need to divest. Yeah. So I think that competence, I think, is also is a good part of our fund, and we understand from day one. And come and talk.
Great. Thomas, I know that in your portfolio you have some foreign startups. Andra also mentioned their international startup team. From your perspective, from your portfolio startups, maybe you know why they chose Lithuania and how they benefited from it.
Oh, I think that it's quite a natural fit. Probably sadly, I can say, looking what happens in Belarus right now. So it's a natural fit that, from Minsk to Vilnius is what? It's a 2 hours train. It's, it's even faster than to go from Vilnius to Klaipėda to Seaside, which takes you 3 hours. Yeah. So I would say it's because geographically we're very close. And I think in Belarus, there are a lot of really good tech talent. And we see what's happening, and some big companies reallocating and the startups. So I think this is natural fit, and we invested in one of those companies. And the rest of the portfolio we invested is in Estonia, but I would say in the markets where we are not so close, we usually try to have another fund, and we either call it that investment, but not trying to be only one investor in such a deals. So the logic probably for those companies to choose us is our conversation on the value add, what we can add besides money. Yeah. So I think that those conversations eventually ending up, if the founders see the value which we can bring besides money, then they probably how they use the fund partners with whom to partner. Yeah. And of course, valuation is always matters, but I think that this is an important thing, and sometimes even more important than the money, because usually shareholders break the companies. Yeah. So I think that you need to be very careful when you are selecting your shareholders, and just feel if you're having a good chemistry with the founders, or with in our cases, with venture partners, because eventually you're going to be living with them for another 5 to 7 years. So, if you sit in the same room and you're thinking how to get out of it, so you need to understand that probably on the monthly basis, you're going to be having that feeling for another 7 years. So just think beforehand if you're going to be enjoying it. So unless you are, masochist, so maybe it's all okay with you. But if you're not, then I would recommend not to.
Great advices. Till the COVID and even during the COVID, Lithuanian startup ecosystem showed constant growth in numbers of startups, ecosystem itself, investments. How do you think? What factors enabled it? It's really a small country. Andra, maybe you have something to say.
Sure. So I can begin, and I guess Thomas and Viktorija will definitely add their ideas, because it's such a complex question, right? What enables the ecosystem to grow and to foster? And personally, I think it's just the fact that the ecosystem is developing a lot. I mean, if you think about Lithuania, we have been independent for what, more than 30 years only, right? So it's a very young ecosystem, but we can see that during the past couple of years, there has been a lot of progress. So the number of accelerator funds, for example, has increased. There are new pre-acceleration programs that are really helping new startups to emerge. The number of VC funds has increased, right? So we see how the ecosystem is getting stronger. The number of support organizations, investors, everything that is kind of there. It's being established, and it's very important if you want to have a growing ecosystem. And at the same time, we see that the number of success cases is increasing. And this is kind of encouraging people, to really build their own startups because they see that, okay, anyone can do it. You don't have to be like an exceptional person to become a successful startup founder. So I would say that, the support from the ecosystem, the success cases are kind of the primary things who are driving this growth. But of course, there is much more. And maybe Thomas or Viktorija want to add to this.
Sure. And if you're a woman, your startup will be much better. Yeah. Recent research just proved it by numbers. So yeah. Viktorija, maybe you.
Yeah, so I think that I will not say something new, but in a few words, supportive community and governance, talents, and a lot of funding. I think that Roberta mentioned a lot about Lithuanian ecosystem, but I think that it's worth to mention that Lithuania is ranked as top 10 global ecosystem for affordable talent. And also we have a lot of funding from private and public funds. So as Andra mentioned, there are a lot of them. And I think in Lithuania, we have more than 10 of acceleration and venture capital funds. So also we have a lot of governance programs for R&D and innovations. Also co-working spaces, and most of accelerators and venture capital funds are located in these co-working spaces. They are not in the huge buildings on the top floor, but we are sitting in the community of the startups. So they can easily reach us, for example, during the lunchtime, etc. And also, I think that we are quite a small community, and it is really a benefit. I also can add that huge work was done by the Bank of Lithuania that has offered a promising fintech regulatory sandbox. I think it was like 5 years ago. It was done 5 years ago, and I think it was perfect timing to show how flexible our regulatory system is. So it shows that we are really flexible because we are small and grow fast.
So it's actually a great point about being flexible. I just wanted to actually ask as well, like it's coming to a natural question about how Lithuanian startup ecosystem really stand out of other European countries. So you say small and flexible, and you probably have some other criteria that can but if you would guys outline like what really makes this country stand out, what makes it like the go-to place number one for like specific entrepreneurs that you focus, that would be interesting specifically to know, because there are a lot of competition right now in the world, and what makes this country to stand out for entrepreneurs. For example, taxes, for example, ease of incorporation for foreign entrepreneurs, maybe something else. So if you could actually add on that, it would be actually fantastic.
I can start answering, and I hope my colleagues will add something. So I think I've mentioned a lot of things. One of those is the infrastructure, the startup ecosystem. It's really a small community, small country, but it gives us some advantages. We can reach each other very quickly. To have a talk with investor, you don't have to somehow find a friend who can, it's really easy. You can call anyone, you can find a friend who knows the guy you want. It's really easy. For our startups, I think it's also big advantage the size of the country. They don't think about Lithuania as a market. They start startups already thinking globally how to enter Europe and further. Startup Blink, you know, this ecosystem rating, they ranked Lithuania number 15 last year. So I think this shows that we really stand out from other countries. And mostly maybe our talents.
Okay, so it's in terms of talents, you mean like it's easier to build a team of founders in Lithuania? Like in terms of talents, what do you mean? Like co-founders, or you can hire people? Is it, yeah?
In all aspects, I think people are our treasure. Lithuania doesn't have gold or silver or anything coming from earth, but we do have people, a lot of people with higher education, multilingual speaking, big talent, IT talent pool, and people are eager to work. They are not afraid to work hard. To work from the beginning, to build startup, you know, maybe in richer countries, in Germany, they are already not so eager to work a lot. So I think that mostly people are our treasure.
They're always hungry like wolves. You know? Always hungry, always not enough. Yeah, but
willing to conquer the world and to earn a lot of money.
Yeah,
not only just to change the world, to make the better world, but maybe complementing. I think that, you know, it's a nice place to live, and because of the being small, we build everything inside out. And I think that even the COVID, and your previous question was about why the ecosystem was growing during it. I think that for some of our portfolio companies, even to close the deals, you needed to think about having salesman, somebody in US, having this and that, because you need to touch, you know, the guy in UK. And then suddenly COVID made that you actually can do the final sales and business decision without, you know, having that human touch. And that even accelerated. So I think if you are building the really great product and the really good technology, that, you know, people started valuing their time, you know, doing demo, you know, trying. And if you're really good in it, and which I believe that a lot CE countries and Russia as well have actually great tech talent, then, you know, putting another things around, having capital allows you to fly much probably faster than it used to be a year ago before COVID. Yeah. So I think this is also seeing that, you know, the funds see that, accelerator sees that, so they continue investing. You know, why you should stop? If you see the demand, if you see the value add product, if you see the good team, hungry team, then you continue investing, not stopping.
Okay, interesting.
And Thomas forgot to mention that we stand out with our women power. As you see today, we have 3 women in discussion, 2 of them investors. And we've just conducted a survey of Lithuanian startups. So 38% of Lithuanian startups have at least one founder female. So the number is better than average in Europe.
Yeah, and some question maybe, and then I'll pass to another 2 beautiful ladies. About taxation, yeah, this is probably the same if you talk, Ukraine or Belarus, and you have that tax, which is 14 or whatever %. In Lithuania, if you do the normal through the all social security, everything, it's quite an extensive, yeah, it's adds a lot percentages. But if you go as a sole entrepreneur, you also can do it with around 23% tax rate, yeah. So usually, some startups go with the, full employment. Some part of the team usually uses that mechanism. And if you are coming, let's say, from abroad to Lithuania, I think you can use that mechanism. So it's not, something which is very dangerous. And export from Lithuania to all EU countries, if it is services, it has 0 tax, yeah. So this is also something good if you're expanding in European Union. And of course, UK, US, it kicks the international things, taxation. So, it's probably doesn't matter, are you doing it from Germany or are you doing it from France or from Lithuania? It's the same EU law applies.
So 0 taxation comes if a startup expands across Europe, that's what you mean?
Yes, if you sell service or you export service from Lithuania, then the VAT is 0.
All right, that's interesting. And what in terms of incorporation, is it like for foreign founders, how hard it is to incorporate a company, and how hard it is to open a bank account while you are not in the country? Probably you don't have even a visa. And also, do you have startup visas?
It's really easy to, I can start the question, maybe colleagues will have something to add. It's really easy to open a company. It takes 3 days to open a company. You can do it online in 1 day, but have to have a signature. A little bit more difficult with bank accounts due to European AML restrictions. But yes, we do have startup visa since 2017. It's a streamlined migration procedure for non-European startups to enter Lithuania. Why it is attractive? Because the process is smoother, is faster, and the requirement for initial capital is like 10 times less for startup visa program comparing to traditional migration procedures. So our startup visa is really popular. We receive about more than 200 applications each year. I already mentioned that since the launch of the program, since 2017, we already have 64, I think, up to date, 64 startups that relocated to Lithuania and are developing their startups here. We are also thinking about some new programs for foreign startups. We are working on a new program and hoping to offer some some money, some grants for foreign startups that are relocated to Lithuania. I hope we will be able to have this program at the end of this year.
Okay, there will be new initiatives.
Yeah, new initiative. So definitely we will spread the information about this program, and those who are interested, you can follow Startup Lithuania social media. And if you are interested in Startup Visa, so we also have a special platform, startupvisalithuania.com, where you can read more about the program and can apply to it. And of course, you can always ask the questions about the program, write me directly or contact my colleagues, and we will try to explain and help you.
Okay, before we just jump into questions of the audience, I have a few more questions just strategically to research about the startup ecosystem. So the audience now and later on who will be watching it on YouTube will get more answers possible. So for example, United States is famous about its expensive lawyers. So wherever you do in business, you can get quickly sued, and it's going to be very expensive. Incorporating company, you need to hire usually a lawyer if you want to make sure everything is right, and so on. In terms of that, how complicated is the legislation? So you always constantly have to hire a lawyer, and how it is expensive to have lawyers hired?
You can open the company remotely.
Okay.
This is probably the answer. If it is typical articles of association, so it will take you probably up to 2 days. Yeah. So this is what Roberta said. With a bank account opening, it depends. Yeah. So with non-residents, like the big Scandinavian banks, it's a little bit complicated, but we do have, like, let's call it boutique banks, like, I don't know, Paysera and others, like payment institution license, who do have, and they can give you IBAN. We do have Revolut, which is kind of UK, but half of from Lithuania. And they also do have their proposal for the small businesses. So I would say there are opportunities. It can be harder with the big banks. It can be a little bit more easy with the smaller banks. But of course, if there are problems with your KYC in generally in Russia or in the world or in any other country from where you are coming, then it can be the problem in Lithuania as well.
Yeah, I mean, those situations are clear. Everything with KYC or sanctions, it's a whole different story, and of course, it might require a lot of costs. But in terms of like basic things, when founders sue each other, or like you want to clearly incorporate something and you need some expertise, how is it expensive to hire a lawyer? What would be average cost startups need to plan if they just decide doing this?
What we see from our startup visa startups, that they do all the things without lawyers. Of course, if you want to make it faster, easier, smoother, some of them hire lawyers. I don't know, the prices may differ a lot. We also, as Startup Lithuania, we have some lawyer companies that are helping our startups. So they give 2 hours of free consultations for startups.
Okay.
And we are trying to offer, to create like a help package, also including some legal advisors, legal help for startups for the beginning. But it's not like in USA. We are not we don't love to sue each other so much.
Yeah, it's excellent. You already answered my question. Since you don't have an example of the cost of legal services, probably, as you mentioned, there are no much cases of suing each other or like involving, and it's a great sign. So you actually probably don't have an answer because there is not many cases. That's excellent.
We are even trying to avoid it because we are trying to agree on everything without suing each other.
That's actually to me a very significant point because lawyers in the United States are like, it's an industry of taking money from registration organizations. What about cost of living and ease of moving to Lithuania on startup visa?
So cost of living is less for sure than in any European country like Germany, West European country. I don't know, you can rent a flat for 300 euros in Vilnius, not so sure. Like
I think even less, it depends on the place, on the, are you living in the suburb or in the city center, but it's like 200, 500.
If you're moving the whole startup we did that in Kenya with one startup. We rented the house and we moved like 15 people. So they all lived and worked. It was like 24/7 work. Yeah. So you can do it in Vilnius, probably renting that for, I don't know, 1,500 probably euros. So it gets like very cheap.
It is cheap. It is great price actually.
Probably what's important, it's not so strict. If you would compare with UK or with Amsterdam, you know, then I would say the landlords actually, you know, doing QAC and maybe I like you, maybe no. So I would say it is much less of that here in Lithuania. If you do have the deposit, you know, probably you're gonna get in without too much of, you know, screening. Let's put it in this way.
Yeah, and one question that is not related to probably ecosystem, but it's for startup visa. Is it also part of Schengen zone? So that people can freely travel across Europe. All right. Coming back to other thing, I wanted to also ask you about what do you guys focus in Lithuania as the country, as the ecosystem, on what exactly industries? I doubt you focus on every industry. I guess there are like major ones. You want to be the best ones and you invest in those. You have talents for that. It's like I'll start like probably AI, medtech, maybe something else, maybe robotics. Can you, each of you as investors and also Roberta with your startup ecosystem, you guys just share like the major ones, because people from those ecosystem can, oh, that's probably the best place for me because I'm part of this industry that people interested.
As my guests do have to leave at 7, maybe you can start answering the question and then say goodbye, and I will continue answering all other questions.
Absolutely.
Ladies first.
Yeah, I can begin. Well, we at Startup Wise Guys in particular are interested in B2B SaaS startups. So this is one of our core expertise, and we have been working with B2B SaaS startups from day one. Recently, we have also started working with fintech, cybersecurity, and sustainability startups. But if we talk about Lithuania, I think fintech definitely is a big topic over here. But if you look at our most successful startups, so a lot of them are actually operating in the B2C space. So I know you wanted a definite answer, but like always, you know, it depends. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, good answers anyways. Thank you. Victoria?
I missed the question because I was offline a little bit. So are we talking about the sectors in which?
So what are the main focus for Lithuania and Lithuanian investors? In what industries you guys mostly invest, and the country focuses on what primary industries? So as a strategic move, for example, now the trend in the world in AI, medtech, like other things, but so what would be your personal focus as an investor, and the entire ecosystem of Lithuania as a major bet versus the rest of the world?
Yeah, so I think that Andra mentioned the main sectors, but you know, it differs. We have different funds with different investment strategies. And for example, we have funds which invest only into B2B sector, into B2B companies. Also, we have funds which invest into technology-based businesses. For example, our fund, we do not have one and specific sector in which we invest, but we are more generalistic fund. So we invest alongside business angels. So we need to look at the business angels' knowledge and focus on that. So, for example, we also invested in traditional businesses, not only into startups. But they had some innovation in their traditional services. So I can't say that there are some specific sectors.
Probably then you can give us a little bit of criteria. What are the key criteria for pre-seed companies? Would be like your major choice to to invest in, because the pre-seed is the hardest part to raise capital. So sometimes, for example, in the United States, I can give you an example, it's almost impossible to raise capital. It's possible, but very hard, super hard to raise capital without having any sales in the United States, even though you might have sales in Europe, in Russia, other countries, wherever. But if you don't have a sales in the United States, they won't do it. If you don't incorporate your country in your company in the Delaware, they won't invest probably as well. So what would be your key criteria that is super important for you, so you guys as investors would invest, and what?
Maybe I don't know, pre-seed, so maybe Andra, but I wanted just maybe to finish about your question about where Lithuania, in my opinion, is strong. Yeah. So I think that we do have a very strong fintech base, because Lithuania is, after the UK, the second country who issued the biggest amount of licenses. Yeah. And we really have the very friendly Lithuanian central bank, whose process is very smooth. The lawyers know all the process, so it's really easy and smooth process. Yeah. Then I really think that Lithuania is quite famous in the deep tech, and there are some sectors like lasers and others and science. I really think that this is something which stands out from another maybe countries. It gives a big emphasis on AI, because we do have and the talent and the companies and now upcoming accelerators which will focus on AI. So I think that now each country probably accelerating and you know, talking about this magic word. And then I think then you reallocate to Lithuania or to any EU country. The good thing that now Europe launched with AEC Accelerator 10 billion fund, which they're going to be investing into all green, sustainable, deep tech ideas. And, you know, as I'm a part of that jury in the selection process, it's really, I think, an opportunity if you're having, I don't know, either strong patent or you're really having a top-notch technology. So I would say it's a really good entry point through the, you know, Lithuania, hiring some consultants who have a good experience in writing those things, actually to get an application if you really do good for this world. Yeah. And then the fifth thing is biotech, but this is not our area, but I think that Lithuania have quite competence here. Have also built some network with the Boston, which is probably the I don't know, the Accra of the biotech companies, and they have a good relation. So I think biotech is something also, I think, where we focus. That's
excellent answer. Thank you so much. And what about criteria for early stage companies? Comparing to the US that I gave you an example, like they won't invest without sales, without incorporating in Delaware. What would be your key major things that you're looking at?
No, but I think this is kind of common criteria, you know, for pre-seed. In my opinion, it's like triple F, who can, you know, finance you, friends, fools, and family. And, you know, I think that, you know, Viktorija can lead you probably to the LITBAN, the Lithuanian Angels Network. And I think this is if you're in the pre-seed stage, so in my opinion, you know, either applying to accelerators or either going to the, you know, Angels Network should be the first doors to which you need to knock. Yeah. And, you know, then you build some traction, then you can start knocking to the funds doors. So but I think there is nothing uncommon in Lithuania. It's the same all across probably all the countries. Sometimes magic happens, but usually not.
Will you require to incorporate in Lithuania if a company already incorporated in Delaware?
We as a fund, we cannot invest in Delaware. We right now at one of the deal, but they do have the subsidiary in EU, and then we can invest and do the simple, you know, share swap structure. So that can be done, and it's not complicated. I would say we were looking and sourcing deals in Ukraine, and then we understood that all продвинутые стартапы, they all incorporated in Delaware, and usually the bigger rounds goes syndicated, and for them it becomes a headache to get us who are kind of cowboy style going through some European Union subsidiary. So we decided that, we are not sourcing actively in Ukraine, at least with such a fund mandate, which we do have now.
All right.
Yeah, and I can add that most of Lithuanian funds can't invest outside the European Union. So startups should be incorporated in European Union.
But subsidiary would work. Right? But subsidiary would work, like as a main company in Delaware, for example, and there is a direct subsidiary of that organization.
Yes.
I mean, that's an answer to the question. So it allows to be with US investors and with European. That's great. Thanks. It's actually like solved this problem. Thank you. I think we are ready to let you go, guys. We will continue with Roberta, but I personally enjoyed this conversation. Of course, we didn't uncover all the questions, and I encourage every one of you to join our community because we have founders from around the world that might help you with your funnel of startups, but at the same time to expand your network through our community as well, and we are happy to help you. Also, I invite you to join as a speaker us later, and we can discuss it further on. But all the questions, all the conversation was very valuable, and thank you so much for giving us those answers. We have more questions, and we will continue discussing it with Roberta.
Okay. See you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
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 All right, we are moving forward to the next part of our conversation with Roberta, and we still have more questions from the audience. And Roberta, let's jump right into the conversation, right into the questions. So, for example, Fyodor Suvorov is asking, my company is located in Moscow. We develop heavy cargo drone. We do not have a prototype yet, and my current goal is to raise initial.
Yeah, I've read it. I've read the whole question. It's a pity that investors already left, as Startup Lithuania is not investing. If you
but you have your opinion. You have your opinion, and just share it. And I also have enough expertise to.
Yeah. So as we've just heard, the criteria of investors, it's really hard at this stage to raise the money for developing a prototype. So from my experience, what I see that you should have at least a prototype or something to show the investors. The most maybe the biggest possibility would be to find a business angel. It's easier because none of the venture capital would consider just a project, an idea without anything done.
I see. And I would add that I completely agree with you. And I would add to this question that while you are on the prototype stage, focus on your prototype, focus on trying to find first customers, first pilots. If you focus on B2B, complex B2B, just stick to the reality. Investors invest in early stage companies, not for the sake of sharing their money, but to actually multiply their returns at least by 5x or 10x within 1 or 2, 3 years. And if you don't fall into their criteria, you're not interested to them. Just this is the reality. And what you can do if you want to raise capital from investors, you need to get these sales or like first deals done, like pilots, paid pilots with large organizations. We're talking about complex B2B. But at the same time, you might look into organizations that give some grants. You might look at accelerators programs, incubator programs. Those might be your focus at this stage, but don't go to investors. You waste your time. You actually might not even build good relationship with them because you are too early for that. And it's a common misconception that if you're an investor, you can give money. they have their strategy and they build their business like that. Just this focus on those who can help you. But ideal case scenario, you need to have first results. And just because the investors, it's unlikely they invest at this stage. Just stick with reality. Let's
totally agree with Daniel. And what we usually advise, I don't know how it is in your country, but in Lithuania, for example, we have different governmental support programs for building prototype, for R&D. So you have to check other possibilities before investments. Are there maybe some grants, some programs that you could get money like a help, and later when you have something to show, you can go to the investors.
And I know that in Russia there are grant programs like Fundraising, other programs, Technopark giving some support. There are plenty of Technoparks in Russia, so it's one of the opportunity. But we actually had another webinar, how to raise non-venture funding in Russian, like in December with Yaroslav Yaroslavsky. They raised recently also venture funding for $4 million, but before that they raised grants from different countries around the world, from different organizations, some like really decent amount of money. So look at that, it might help you as well. Let's move on to the next question from Nick Shilkin. Can you compare the Estonian Lithuanian startup ecosystem, like how Lithuania stand out versus Estonia, in your opinion?
It's such a common question, like everywhere I go, I get the same question. Actually, I think, okay, maybe Estonian startup ecosystem looks better in numbers. They have 6 unicorns at the moment. The number of startups are pretty similar. Estonia is a smaller country, but I think it's quite similar. And when a startup is choosing between Estonia or Lithuania, I think you just have to see both countries and to feel where you feel better. Estonia, what I usually say, is a little bit further up in the north, so it's colder. And Lithuania is more, I think people are more relaxed, more easygoing, and not so cold. So basically, it's really very similar countries and similar startup ecosystem.
I actually would say different. From my perspective, as I understand this, I think you're not good or better, worse or better. You complement each other. You actually provide ecosystem for startups, and each network being so close to each other in the European Union just complements. You are so near, you can actually travel, try to raise money in there and in your country. You can do a lot of networking, a lot of cross-country connections. I mean, it's definitely not a competition. It's more about complementing each other. So I think,
sure.
So as I said, it's stronger.
Yeah, we have even our venture capital funds, like they call them some Baltics, and the Baltic funds. They invest in the whole in all 3 countries. And Startup Wise guys that we have here, they are actively working in all 3 Baltic countries. So if to choose one of these countries, just I think it's mostly the feeling which country you like the best.
Yeah, we have more questions also on live stream. I think this one might be from Belarus. We will raise 200 euros for the pre-seed round. Is it really possible to do this in Lithuania without having any revenue? I think we already answered this. We're making new business on sustainable mobility, a competitor to Uber Eats. A new business model, profitable, unlike Uber. It's from Sergei Zheltsov on Facebook live stream. I think we answered this question. Just without having any revenue, it's super hard, and you need to find the right investors or maybe incubators and accelerators first to get your first sales. That's super important. In terms of other questions, guys, if you have any more questions, you can ask these questions in Q&A section. Those who would like to ask a question verbally, you can raise your hand on Zoom. And we have another question on our chat from Dmitry G. What is the incorporation taxation rate for startups in Lithuania? How does it compare to Latvia, Estonia? What is the personal taxation rate? And what is the situation export-import tariffs on components and goods sold?
So I think about the corporate taxation, Thomas answered already. Yeah. Personal taxation rate is 15%.
Okay.
I think.
It's like in Russia, I think, probably.
And I have no competence to answer the question regarding export-import.
Can you, is it possible we can just pass this question to you and you can later on answer on our community? So I think this actually...
It really depends on the country. Also, Thomas explained if it's inside the EU, so there are no 0%. If it's from non-EU countries, so it will differ according to the country. But I can answer directly maybe this question too.
All right.
I see one more question in chat area regarding startup visa. What are the requirements for Lithuania startup visa for Russians, for example? So we don't have specific requirements for different countries. So the requirements are the same for all. It has to be innovative idea. So we also want to see the experience of the team who is applying for startup visa, that they know what they are doing. If there is no prototype or MVP, so we would check the team and are they able to make this idea real.
All right. I think we can continue this conversation along, but the main question right now the audience is asking where they can get this presentation. So we can share this presentation on our live on our Go Global World chats on Facebook, Telegram, and LinkedIn. So make sure to subscribe. And I suggest we continue this type of webinars with you and keep uncovering more and more questions for the audience about Lithuania and Europe. With you guys, we will be happy to do so. And before we close this talk, I'll show a few final slides about our upcoming webinars, and I will let you think of how you want to close this. I'll give you this final words to close with word of wisdom or final buy or whatever you want. What's on your mind, on your heart to share with the audience as a final outcome of our conversation. And in the meantime, everyone, please take a look at our next upcoming events. We have great speakers are joining soon. There will be one event in Russian for those who speak Russian with a venture investor from Silicon Valley, Viktor Alovsky. He's running a fund called Fortress Ventures, and they wrote a book from Reno to Unicorn. And you might have a very valuable conversation for your business about how to start it, how to build it, and how to raise capital specifically from Silicon Valley for those companies who are outside the United States. We do have monthly founders meetups in Russian and in English. In Russian every third Friday of the month for global Russian founders. We also have another talk in Russian with two US Russian founders that have hardware startup, and so they will be sharing how to actually enter United States market in terms of regulatory challenges. But we are fully English-speaking community, and most of our webinars in English. Just be aware of that. English is the main language in the world right now, And the next startup ecosystem we would like to research on is Singaporean startup ecosystem. And an investor from Singapore is joining us to talk about a startup ecosystem there. Make sure to prepare your questions. That might be a very valuable, interesting conversation for you. Singapore is a booming ecosystem and might be a port to the Asian fast-growing markets for your startup. And Mark is also a venture capital investor. That might be an opportunity for you to speak with him or ask him questions. Another monthly founders meetup we have, that is in English. That is every month, every first Friday of the month. And next one is going to happen on the following Friday next week, I guess, or maybe in a week. So early April. Make sure to register in advance and network with founders from around the world. This is our calendar of events, and it automatically updates, so make sure to subscribe. And this is our Eventbrite page, goglobalworld.eventbrite.com. You can follow it and it will notify you about our future events. We are always looking for speakers, not for the sake of creating another talk. We want you to get advice how to move forward, and your questions here are super important because this is how your business can grow and move on. I think we had an excellent webinar. I thank you everyone for the questions, and I'm grateful to you, Roberta, for great panel speakers. They created a lot of value to this talk, and for your actually presentation and answering our questions. This webinar was a success, and I'm looking forward to have another one with you. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours. You can close the session.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think it was really, the vibe of the webinar was very good. Thanks a lot for the participants for the question. It's always much easier to talk, especially when you talk online and cannot see the people's faces. So it's easier to talk when you see that questions are coming, the chat is live and people are asking questions. So we saw this live communication. So thanks a lot for that. It was really a pleasure. And if you have more questions, if you are interested in Lithuania and our ecosystem and Startup Visa, don't hesitate and just contact us. You can find all my team and all our contacts and my contacts in our internet site, startuplithuania.com.
Perfect. And also you can ask questions to Roberta and the rest of the speakers on our community in our global chats. We'll be happy to help to connect with the speakers. And that was Roberta Rudokienė and our talk about startup ecosystem in Lithuania. I thank you so much and have a great the rest of the day. Goodbye, guys.
You too.